flexible frameworks, but we have organized them into 14 sequence steps. To say that that's actually how it plays out is not, that's really not the case. But that is a logical way to learn about them, and even a logical way to do them if it's the first time you're going through that process. And in fact, we just went live with more free stuff. We created a whole new section on the website and went live 2 days ago, really, called Blueprints. And it's in the main menu of our website. It's free when you sign up for the free ebooks. There's 4 free ebooks. You also get this free Blueprints. This Blueprints takes the content from the ebooks and organizes it into those 14 steps, puts it online in a different way that's searchable and linked and all that. Those 14 steps are a logical way to explore it, certainly for the first time. But if you're already in the middle of a transformation, you're already using these kinds of tools, you may enter this and say, hey, I need help here. And then you jump to wherever you need help. So it's a framework that you can enter and exit at any point, but there is a logical sequence for those that are starting out. The other part of your question was, do you have to do it all? Well, here's the deal. I don't really know. But what I do know is the organizations that have been successful and sustained these gains and actually accomplished and achieved sustainable excellence, they do them all. So you might find examples where they didn't do one thing or not one thing well. There's no perfect ones, right? But the reason those elements are there is because there was a high level of consensus across the organizations that have accomplished this. And that's the only reason it stayed in the model. I have to tell you, I wanted a much simpler model. Most everybody that looks at it says, hey, you got a lot of stuff here. I'm like, yes, we do. If we could figure out a way to make it simpler, we would, because our goal wasn't to make it complex. But when we test, we've gone through a process of testing every element. Should it stay? Should it go? Is it essential? And at the end of the day, the case was it's pretty much essential. The question is, you don't have to do all 14 at one time. You don't have to remember all 14. A lot of the steps are things that you would systematize, write down, and they're activities that you would do in a systematic way. It's not something you have to remember. And what needs to get embedded are the new ways the leader behaves and their leadership style and the culture of the organization. And to get there, the best way to do that is for the leader to personally transform. And that's really the way to be authentic, is to grow and learn themselves. And I think one of the things that all the leaders I've talked to that have led successful transformations experienced was a personal learning experience. They changed from the beginning to the end. The grooves got deeper, the gray matter got grayer. They were different people at the end, and they continued to be different people. And that wasn't just a role modeling thing, although that's important. The leaders have to role model what they want to see in the rest of the organization. But it also kept them going, because to reinvent their own organization, they had to learn new things and learn how to think about new things in different ways and test their assumptions.
So they had to be in a little bit of a tension themselves, right?
Absolutely. And the ones that didn't already know that found out along the way. There's one CEO that they've been at this for about a year or so trying to transform, and their senior team, only about half of them were really doing it. And he talked to his, I call them spies, but informants, said, hey, find out what's going on. Why aren't they doing this? And they came back and they said, well, boss, the answer is they'll change when the CEO changes. and he was a kind of guy that sat back and reflected on that. He didn't like that answer, but when he thought about it, he thought, I'm a product of this company. I've been there over 20 years. I'm embedded in it. I'm part of the culture, the current culture, not the one we want. He goes, I really hadn't thought through what I'm going to have to do to emulate and set the example. And so once he changed his approach, and then he started getting the senior leaders on board, because he now had credibility and he was serious. We launch all these change projects and we create visions and we say we want these kind of values, but people are pretty smart. They watch our behavior, and they figure out what the real values are and what you really think is important by our behavior. And so it's great to write these things down. It's important to write them down. It's important to design all this and figure it out. But if the leaders aren't behaving in a way that is consistent with that, it's not going to work. Or I haven't seen it work, put it that way.